And I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah.
Here we are. Let's run it. Scotty B and Todd Father in the studio together. Kratz dancing somewhere in parts unknown in Pennsylvania. So before we get to a lot of heavy-hitting news topics today, as promised, I'll continue to mix in some ratings and reviews on the podcast page. If you'd like to say hello to us right now, that's the best way to do so ever since that one mean review. I'm not bitter at all or petty. King Bones writes, "This is so good and cool to see what former players say and get to know the personalities of many in MLB. Diehard Mets fan, I would love to get David Stearns back on the show along with Pete Alonso." Thank you for that, Bones. Appreciate you.
I'll get on that, Bones.
Mm-hmm. And then one Twitter comment that stood out, and I saw Kratz respond to it last night.
Oh,
Brian Kim said Kratz should have told a Pham story on FT yesterday because y'all were teammates with the Rays. Brian was disappointed that you didn't do that, Kratz, although you had a informed response.
Yeah, you got to go back and watch. I've told 2 Tommy Pham stories. You can't just always keep telling stories about guys you played with. No one else would get to talk as many guys as I've played with.
Do you have any more that you're hiding in the holster? You don't have to say them now. I'm just saying, like, do you have any other Tommy Pham stories that we need to go back to?
When I read that tweet, yeah, there was a parking lot. There was a parking lot story that was classic. It just personifies what Tommy Pham's about.
All right, is it like a minute story, or it's a whole to do? Maybe slap hands.
It's a to do. Maybe at some point when we have a Rays fan on or something, just talking about it. It has to do with how the players' parking lot is set up with the Rays. I think we talked about it. Like Mike Zunino had the closest spot, and Tommy Pham was up there, and just how he's more like no nonsense type of stuff.
Okay. I'm going to put it in my little notes to save for a rainy day.
Steal my spot is the headline. I'm going to assume.
No, see, everybody thinks that's the thing. Everybody thinks Tommy Pham's just out to fight everybody. He's not. The most pertinent statement that like exemplifies Tommy Pham is the fact that he goes, I'm not starting nothing. I'm just prepared to finish it. Like he's not. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks like, when a pit bull walks into the room, everyone's like, oh, man, that pit bull wants to bite somebody. No, man, like, he's a great dude. He just isn't up for – he's not up for the extra stuff. You know, this one that William Contreras did. You know, this one, he was doing this one to him, flipping his glove at him as he was going – whatever he said, he's just not about that life.
I think that was a great example, actually, with the pit bull. For real, that was a great example. Let's charge the damn mound. All right, so let's get some player perspective on this one. There were 5 players caught gambling on baseball games. One of them is banned from baseball. 4 others are minor league players that will serve 1-year suspensions. So the headliner is San Diego Padres utility man Tucupita Marcano was rehabbing last year after suffering a torn ACL with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he was betting on games, including games that were played by the Pittsburgh Pirates. He wasn't in those games, but he was betting on those games. And he was caught. Over $150,000 in bets from October of 2022, right? Is that what it was? Or last July through November with a legal sports book. Over 87,000 of that 150, so half-ish, was on MLB-related bets, an average of $370 per bet. Of course, what also stands out is the losing, which we can get to in a second. But let's try to be serious for a minute first, okay? 231 bets on baseball. This is a Major League Baseball player. He is currently, well, now he's banned from baseball, but he was on the San Diego Padres rehabbing. He now doesn't get to play baseball anymore. This is the rule. This is how it works. I'm sure many fans are going to comment about Pete Rose. Yes, you cannot bet on games as a Major League Baseball player, whether it's for your team against your team for anything involving MLB. You can't do it on a legal or an illegal sports book. You want to bet on the Jets and Bears? Go have a ball. You're allowed to do that. You are not allowed to bet on Major League Baseball. He's gone. What do you think?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, to be honest with you. And you see, I mean, how many guys do this? This is incredible. He did it on a legal site, so it's easily to find. It's easily to track. Those things don't go away. I think it was not a smart move. I think if you're him sitting there, was it really worth it? You're betting that much money. That's a significant amount of money. He wasn't making millions and millions of dollars. I mean, he's the guy, that was making what I think league minimum at the time. He was playing, if not maybe a little bit more. But man, you just wasted a huge opportunity to play Major League Baseball for as many years as you can. He's not a big name. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big name. You're a guy that made a huge mistake, and now you're paying for it. And you see the other guys on the list here too. Jersey product guy, Jay Groom. He was a star here out of high school. Ran into some troubles, but he only bet 400 and change. Like it's really, it's not worth it. And to see some of these guys on the list, it's just unfortunate because is a little bit of a payday going to help you out for the rest of your career? No, you got caught, and now, you're gonna have to just take it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the minor league players, just to make sure everyone knows again, 1 year suspensions. Yeah, and they're betting hundreds. It actually shows how their salaries look in the minors. But either way, I mean, my question, and we'll get whatever you've got for us too, Kratz, but my question is, are any of these people unaware of how this works?
I mean, you mean these guys? I can't answer
any of
for
these
them.
5 players. Like, do you feel like as a former player, you played with dudes that didn't understand that you cannot place bets on baseball, whether it's with your local bookie or with a regulated book that actually can catch what happens here, which is why these are becoming more prevalent stories, because guys are getting caught. This has been going on forever, but now it's easier to catch people.
You are so aware when this happens. There is no. You have made the choice to do this. I played with a guy who signed up for a fantasy football website, and it wasn't like the popular fantasy football websites, but it was just fantasy football. And with it, you automatically signed up for fantasy baseball, and there was betting that went along with it. And all of a sudden, he's freaking out. He's like, oh my gosh, I just got these notifications. He went to our security guy. He went to team officials to try to take care of it. So that's what happens when you accidentally sign up for something, or you're like, maybe I'll just try this. Like, they knew what they were doing, and they knew what they were doing based on how small, besides Tucupita's, their bets were tiny. So it was like they were just trying to go in for just a little bump, just a little taste of it, see what it is. And to me, I think it's good that Major League Baseball has done, the 1 year ban, because gambling is out there now, and it's not like it was before where it's all through illegal. It's very regulated, so that's good. But with that, you're going to have guys that do this and try to test the limits. For the automatic ban for Tucupita, he gone. He bet on it. He was in the locker room on a team he was betting for or against. It seemed like it was all for the Pirates, but if you're just betting on baseball, I don't think the lifetime ban is necessarily out there. And I appreciate MLB for only doing a year for those guys.
Yeah, it's everybody knows. Everybody knows you're not supposed to do that. You see, boxing, you can bet on yourself. But I think that might be one of the only ones if there's others out there. But football, same thing. You see all these guys getting caught left and right. I mean, it's fun to put a few, bets in here or there, but you can't bet on your own sport. That's common sense. You have those meetings every year in spring training. You have to sign the thing saying that you were in that meeting, all this kind of stuff. So just not the smartest of moves. And now you go back home. What are you going to do next?
And I'll clarify for anyone that's wondering why Marcano is banned for life, essentially. You can technically apply for reinstatement, but and 24 years old, hasn't been a good player in the bigs, hasn't played much in the bigs yet, though. And I remember when he was first coming up, they were like, this guy might turn out to be a decent big leaguer. Ceiling is maybe a regular super utility dude, but even the floor is maybe he bounces up and down, minors, majors, fill-in guy, right? Like he could have had himself a nice 10-year career. So here's the difference. Major League Rule 21, any player, ump, or club, or league official or employee who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the bettor has no duty to perform shall be declared ineligible for 1 year. That's those 4 minor leaguers. Whereas any player, umpire, or club, or league official or employee who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the bettor has a duty to perform shall be declared permanently ineligible. And some people might go, well, Marcano was on the IL. Doesn't matter. Major league player on a major league team, privy to information, you're gone. You know what the rules are. And if you don't, I hope you're speaking out about this and letting everyone know what your situation is, because it wasn't one bet, oopsie. It was tons of bets. And yes, his success rate was freaking awful. Awful. He won 4% of his bets, and he was placing a lot of parlays, probably, big plus money, but he didn't hit any of his parlays that he placed with the Pirates involved, and he hit 4% of his bets total. 4%. Like, we place bets every day on our locks. We're for the most part, a lot of us are over 50%, and we're in plus money. So I don't know what's going on there, but I hope that he speaks just so that A, we can learn more about his story, and B, maybe it provides an example for others to learn from. We'll be right back with Jon Heyman, more on this topic, and we'll flip it around to see what other teams are looking for at the trade deadline.
Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of Foul Territory. Unified Healing is an innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. This technology promotes wellness and deep relaxation, and there are hundreds of locations across the globe. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifydhealing.com/foul to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/FOUL. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment, and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System.
Back with the great Jon Heyman joining us right now. Please check out all of his work in the New York Post. You see him on MLB. He's got a great podcast that he runs with Joel Sherman. We'll post some of these clips and give you the link to Jon's Twitter account. Jon, great to have you as always and to catch up with you. And we got to start with the headliner. What were your thoughts when you see Tucupita Marcano banned for life from baseball? Not a big name, but still, it's a name that we know while we're in the game of baseball. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally sad for him. It's very unfortunate because, I mean, as you said, he was seen as a guy who was going to be a major league player at some level, whether he was a utility player, a guy bounced up and down, or whatever. We're not going to know, at least for a little while, but you are correct that he can apply for reinstatement. We'll see how that goes. But I am sad for him, but it's clear. I mean, as Todd said, I think it was Todd, who said it's clear to everybody at the major league level, and while he was on the injured list, he was at the major league level. You cannot bet on baseball. So while I feel sorry for him, I don't feel that sorry for him. It was a pretty obvious mistake that he made.
Yeah, and he was betting a lot of money considering what he was earning. So I'm going to stay on this for a second, but I'm going to revert back to somebody who I know and got to know real well. I think about Pete Rose. Now, let me ask you a question about this. He always goes back and he tries to get reinstated, because I think he still deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. This doesn't help his chances by somebody else doing this kind of deal, because now it's like, oh, shoot, we're going backwards now in time. So for me, my question would be, does Pete stop doing this now since all this is going on? Because you let one guy banned for life, and now this kid's banned for life. It really hurts his chances. Again, would you assume?
Well, I mean, I don't think Pete's chances look very good. I mean, we haven't heard anything about any potential reinstatement recently. I know that when Bud Selig was in there, and this is going back well more than a decade ago, there was some potential for it. I can't remember exactly why it fell through at that point, but I do like Pete for the Hall of Fame. I do think he should be in the Hall of Fame. And I would hope, and I don't think that this affects him. That said, it does still. There's no evidence that things are progressing in Pete's case. That's just the way it's been, and it's the cardinal rule. You can't break it. But Pete didn't. He didn't show any remorse, and he lied about it for a long time. So I get why it dragged on for a long time. But I'm kind of with you that he should be in the Hall of Fame. In this case, we have a player who signed off on it. This was an agreement in the end. So I don't know whether he showed remorse, but he admitted it. And, maybe that will help his case. So maybe that separates him a little bit from Pete. I don't know.
All right. My question is, and I'll explain it. Are there more? Because when there was this whole steroid thing, like, wow, we found biogenesis. We caught 11 guys. The public was so naive to think, whoa, there was 11 guys doing steroids? No, we're naive. So if they caught this many guys, I'm not saying that that there's more, what are the chances or what are you hearing that there's more? Because if they caught a solid group of players here, did they get them all? Or is this something that now other players are going to be fearful?
Yeah, betting on sports is prevalent among young men. And obviously people at the minor league level, major league level, they're all young, certainly by my standards. And they are in that category where they are apt to bet. I would hope that almost all of them understand you don't bet on baseball, bet on something else. I know that there have been players who've called MLB to get a clarification on this, including a high-profile player. And he was told, yes, you can bet legally on other sports. And so, he is in the clear. He's allowed to do it. In this case, they bet with a partner of MLB, FanDuel. They're in business with MLB. That wasn't too smart. Am I naive enough to think there aren't any other players betting illegally on baseball, or maybe even legally, but not with a partner of MLB? No, there certainly is that possibility. And as you said, it is prevalent among young guys. So I'm sure there's a lot of betting. I would hope that they're betting on football, basketball, soccer, cricket, anything but Major League Baseball. There's a lot of betting to be had, and they can certainly fill their need to bet. And just don't bet on baseball. It's just not worth it. What is I'm not addicted to gambling myself. I don't get it, but it should seem to be pretty easy to confine your bets to football, basketball, hockey. There's one of those sports, including tennis and golf, going on all the time. So you can fill your need with any of those other sports.
My thing, last one here, John, is the integrity of the game is important, of course, right? So when we have regulated betting, we are able to track someone like Marcano and say, hey, this dude was betting on a site. We have proof that he was betting on Pirates games. He's out of here. This is not the first case over decades. And there are guys that have probably done this and never gotten caught because they're gambling with a bookie, right? Someone like who, eBay was working with. It's harder to track and to find people like that. And the same thing goes with suddenly looking at a random game on a random night in a regular season of a sport and seeing that the handle is super heavy. That ends up getting looked at by sports books, leagues, and the feds. So it helps us to find people that are doing things wrong in our sport. You know what I'm saying? So I just think sometimes people start going, well, see, it's because there's commercials out there. In my opinion, I feel really strongly about this. I've talked about this for many years. There only existed this offshore situation, and it made it harder to catch people that were actually causing damage to the integrity of sports.
Yeah, I'm glad that MLB was able to catch who they did catch. And like I said, I feel sorry for him, but I think you're correct that there are guys who can bet illegally and probably get away with it. And is that any better? No. But, and I hope that's not the lesson. I hope the lesson that players take away is not that we've got to avoid FanDuel and these other major sites that are in business with MLB, and we got to find some illegal bookmakers. Like I said, it should be easy. Bet on football, bet on NBA, that's going on now. If you need to bet on something, there'll be golf, there'll be tennis, there'll be everything to bet on. it shouldn't be that hard to avoid betting on Major League Baseball.
So I'm moving on from this. I'm going to talk a little bit about Yankees a little bit. So how do you think Arson Judge did this weekend in San Fran?
He's amazing. I got to say, the guy's incredible. Yeah. He's going to be a superstar wherever he plays. I mean, the guy is amazing. I did pick him for MVP this year. Went with the chalk, went with him and Acuna. Obviously, it's not going to be Acuna, but to me, Aaron Judge is the best position player in Major League Baseball. And, and obviously there are a lot of great ones. Acuna, one of them. Betts, another. Soto, another. Judge is frankly amazing. Whatever you want to call him. Arson, yeah. Aaron, anything. He's the best.
So last time we had you on the show, we had a debate about the Phillies and the Yankees. Both teams are doing good. Who was better? Do you remember what you said?
No, I don't. What did I say?
All right. Well, Scott, what he said? The Phillies.
No. This was on. No. Sorry to clarify. This was on. John was on a show recently. Yes. This wasn't on one of our shows. Oh, not our show. Excuse me. John was on one of the New York Post pods. This is what we took it from, John. I know you guys were debating. We're trying to hype that up a little. They were debating the Phillies and the Yanks. So what did the conversation go like, and who did you end up selecting if you had to pick?
If I had to pick, I think I picked the Yankees, although at the beginning of the year I had the Phillies in the playoffs, and I've got to tell you, my predicting skills are not great. I had the Orioles and Dodgers in the World Series. That's okay, because I think those are the second best teams in their leagues right now, but I didn't even have the Yankees in the playoffs. I was concerned about their rotation, which has been fabulous. The pitching coach, Matt Blake, has done a great job. Stroman has been a lot better than I would have thought. Rodon has bounced back and has been outstanding. Without Garrett Cole, they've had the best starting pitching in baseball, the best pitching overall. And right now, if I had to pick one or the other, I'd give the Yankees that slight edge, but those are the two best teams right now. So my two picks are not the favorites at this moment. And I went with pretty much what I consider to be chalk, which was Dodgers and Orioles.
So you said I didn't even have the Yankees in the playoffs. Have they done enough through only 2 months of the season to say, okay, this team is legit because of the track record of a Stroman and a Rodon and the fact that Cole hasn't even been there? Or are you like, as soon as it goes bad at one point, you're going to be like, I told you, I knew the Orioles would come back with all their youth and all their young pitching and the trades they made?
Yes, I will do that. I can guarantee that. But at this moment, the Yankees look like the best team. Look, everything that went wrong last year has turned around. Obviously, Judge missed 2 months last year. That was a killer. Rizzo was not himself once he had the concussion issue and colliding with Tatis. Obviously, Rodon was not who he is. He's back to being the pitcher that he is. Cortez was mostly hurt last year. He is healthy now. Just about everything has turned around for them. Unfortunately, Cole has, and he hasn't appeared yet. But once he comes back, he can only help that rotation. So, to me, once you add Cole to the team that's actually been the best, certainly in the American League, and, debatable whether they've been better than the Phillies, but case can be made, they're even better. So, they obviously had the talent, but so much went wrong last year. They do have a little bit of age, which concerns you. But right now, not everything has gone perfectly, but whatever has not gone perfectly, they've made up for with other guys stepping up and performing. So right now, I think they're the favorite to win it all. And I'm surprised because I thought the Dodgers would be the best team. We've still got a lot of time to go. Dodgers will still get Kershaw back and some of the other pitchers that have been out, and they're going to be certainly a team to be reckoned with. At the top of that National League is tough with the Braves, who I think they will end up picking up pitching and will improve in the offense once Riley, Olsen, and the others perform to their ability. But right now, I think the Yankees are the clear favorite, even though I messed up and didn't have them in the playoffs to start the year.
Okay, good. That was going to be my next question was you were kind of waffling, but there you got to the end and you said the Yankees are better than the Phillies. Just want to have that quote.
Yeah, but I had to pick
Jon
one or the
Heyman.
other. Right now, I'm going to have to go with the Yankees, but those are the two best teams. I'm not dissing the Phillies. Don't write in if you're from Philadelphia or Southern New Jersey. I don't want to hear about it. I'm saying you're the best team in the National League. At this moment, the Yankees look like the best team. That Soto-Judge combination, one of the best we've ever seen. I think right now they are the two best hitters in Major League Baseball. Case can be made that they are the two best. I did my hitter rankings at the beginning of the year. I had Judge 1, Soto 3. I think it's 1-2 right now, and that is a deadly combination. Soto's seeing more pitches, obviously. Judge is now walking as much or more than Soto. But, when he gets a pitch to hit, it's gone. That month of May that he had, I don't think I've ever seen a guy have a month like that.
Agree. Now let's go over to Crosstown in Queens, talk about the Mets. Couple things. Stearns, you wrote in an article in the Post saying basically he's not taking the blame for this, because, he wasn't there for all these guys that were coming in. You think there'll be sellers at the trade deadline?
Well, if it stands as it is now, I do think so. Even though they're only 4 games out of the wild card right now, they're still third worst record, I believe, in the National League. So I would say if they're 10 games under, even if they're only 4 games out, I do think they will be sellers, and it is going to be a big sellers market. So I think they're going to do well if they sell. They're probably not going to get the great prospects back that some of the fans probably think that they could for Alonso if they do trade Alonso. Because let's face it, look at the history of trading the sluggers who have been rental players. You can recall Arizona didn't give up that much to get J.D. Martinez, who was a superstar at that time when that trade was made with Detroit. With Boston, I believe it was. And, Rizzo, the Yankees didn't give up that much to bring in Rizzo. Schwarber, that trade didn't net that big a prospect. So, I think a rental slugger, even one as great as Alonso, doesn't get you a haul back. They'll get probably almost as much if they traded Severino and Minaya as well. But it's not going to be a great sale for the Mets. It's mostly rental players. They have guys who they're not trading. Obviously, Lindor's not going anywhere. Nimmo's not going anywhere. At this point, you couldn't trade McNeil. I don't think you could trade Marte. It's mostly going to be the rental starters, maybe a couple relievers, and Alonso. That would be the big name. And I do think there are teams out there that certainly could use Alonso. It's easier to trade a pitcher, but there'll be enough teams out there looking for that slugger that they could get something decent back, not the big haul that I think some fans might expect. Houston looks like they could use a bopper, and they've kind of said they're not going to be a seller. The Cubs, potentially. It's a team that's been linked to Alonso. Mariners could use a bopper, though they haven't been that aggressive for one. So there are teams out there that are going to be interested in him, just not going to get the haul that I think a lot of people would expect.
Yeah, I like that Astros call. I think he could slot right in there at first base. Unfortunately, it's been a rough go for Jose Abreu, obviously getting sent down and coming back up. It's not been a lot of time yet, but I haven't seen much from him. One more Mets question for you, because I know you wrote a great article in the Post about David Stearns. He just started. So how do you think he fixes this? But also, should fans remember that this has been going on for years, many signings and buys and all of that, that has led them to still the highest payroll in baseball. Obviously, some of that's being paid to Verlander and Scherzer and guys that aren't on the team. Even James McCann, I think, is still on the payroll.
Right. You're right about that. A lot of guys, Escobar, but obviously they're still paying for Verlander and Scherzer, McCann. They still have the highest payroll in baseball, the most amount of dead money. And none of this is Stearns. As I wrote in the Post, he didn't do any of it. His signings, by and large, in the winter, believe it or not, I know the team is underperforming, have been good. It's the holdovers who've really underperformed. He signed Bader, who's done a nice job. He's actually hitting the clutch, which is what almost no other Met has done. He signed Severino, who's been solid. Minaya, who's been solid. Not all of his deals have worked out brilliantly, but it's basically before he got there, the deals that did not work. About $1 billion was shelled out in deals before he got there, and all of the holdovers are underperforming. Now, Nimmo, I think, has hit in a lot of bad luck, but obviously Lindor is now coming on, but still hasn't performed to that $341 million level. Alonso's been good, but he hasn't been what he has been in the past. And Diaz obviously has been terrible before he went on the IL. So it's the holdovers and the guys who were signed to those big deals, McNeil too, that have really cost them. The deals that he did make. I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's a small market GM." I don't know what they were expecting. This was a transition year. He signed guys on 1-year deals, guys he will be able to trade. Also, JD Martinez, who I didn't mention. And I think overall he did a good job with it. So don't blame David Stearns. Blame me more than David Stearns, but blame the previous the predecessors. They're the ones who signed those deals.
Don't anybody blame John. It wasn't John's fault. Don't blame anybody else.
I can take it.
You talked about Pete Alonso's value maybe not being that high. If you were to put a power ranking out there, who's the highest valued trade piece that has been, legitimately, obviously, if the Yankees would try to trade Aaron Judge, that would be the highest value. You know what I'm talking about. Who is that top 3 of highest value trade pieces if Pete Alonso has a big name, but a slugger doesn't really get you much?
Yeah, I mean, 2 names come to mind, so I don't know if I'm going to give you 3. But Mason Miller, who's got 5 more years of control after this, who's been incredible. It's thrown up to 103.7 miles an hour. It's been arguably the best reliever in baseball, though I could make a case for Suarez from the Padres or Clase from the Guardians. But Mason Miller has been certainly the most spectacular reliever in baseball. And with 5 more years of control, that's a haul. The other guy would be Luzardo, who certainly is on the block. The Marlins talked about him with many teams, including the Orioles, who probably still could use another starter. Even though I picked them, they need another starter, so help me out here, Orioles. And, the Padres are aggressive, and obviously we have Darvish and Musgrove on the IL, so that's a team to watch, and they obviously had already acquired a Rise, so I could see them as well. But basically, almost any team could use Luzardo, who's got 2 more years after this year. He's only making $5 million, left-handed, big talent. Has generally been good since he got back from the IL, brief stay on the IL. Those are 2 names that, to me, stand out. I mean, we were looking at potentially Bichette, Guerrero. I think Toronto already nixed them. St. Louis has worked their way back in, so I'm not predicting Arenado is going to be on the block anymore. So it's going to be a real seller's market, and certainly those 2 players could bring back hauls.
Last one, because you mentioned the Marlins, and I definitely hear the cops outside, so I hope everything's okay. I'm
on the
assuming you're up.
41st floor. I mean, I need some new windows or something. I don't know what's going on.
Are you in Florida or New York right now?
No, I'm in New York. I used to live in a 7th floor apartment. I didn't hear a thing. Now I'm on the 41st floor, and it's all day you hear stuff.
It's funny when I talk to John, you're either in somewhere in Florida and it's like the beach and maybe you hear a wave crash, or it's New York and you hear it all. So yes, I know where you're at right now.
Yeah, right.
Well, before they get you, the Marlins did get Avisail Garcia, and it was a fail, right? So this is year 3 of the 4-year, $53 million deal. They just DFA'd him. No one's going to pick up that money, so it's about $25 million that they'll eat. But really, the whole contract, I look at what they're eating left, but really he was never an effective player for them. So just wanted to get your thoughts on, how that was a fail for a team that's so damn cheap they can't afford to make mistakes like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that moment, Jeter was trying to do something. They gave him some money, but not enough to sign Castellanos, who's the guy who apparently he wanted. Castellanos, being from the Miami area, he felt somebody they could build around and be a star for them. And frequently when that happens, when you have money and the guy that you want to get is beyond your price range, rather than hold the money, you spend the money. So he's not the only one who does this, but he obviously made a mistake. He should have held the money for another year, but obviously he had it. He had the money available, and for $53 million, I guess this was the best player he could get. But even at the time, that looked like a major overpay. I mean, we didn't certainly know that Avisail was not going to perform well and that he was going to get hurt. He was a solid player previously in most stops. He's been in several stops, but been a solid player at the major league level, but obviously that's not a good signing. And you're a Marlins expert, so they don't have a lot of money to throw around, and you spend $53 million, you better get it right.
Yeah, I was on the record on multiple channels and shows and all that, John, and I don't often go hard, but I was going hard against that one when it happened. I was utterly confused. I might have been doing shows on TV with you back then, and I remember going hard. I was like, this is a bad idea. This is not a good signing on many fronts, and it did not work out. So, but we got to do it.
Right.
That's what we're paid to do.
Your batting average is better than mine, so good for you.
Both of ours are better than Avisail, unfortunately, but hopefully he picks things up with another ball club. But Jon, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Everyone check out his work on Twitter, on New York Post, all of his spots, MLB 670 The Score, and the show with Heyman and Sherman. I want to make sure I'm your best hype man. How'd I do?
You really are. You should be in advertising.
I still follow everything that you do, Jon. So I love it.
I appreciate it.
You're
the one. You're the one. Thank you.
Yes.
Jon,
Thank
Jon,
you.
With you guys.
Real quick for you, Jon. I'm looking at your books in the background here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, where's the towel of the backup catcher?
You got to send it to him.
Well, this is a big bookcase. I mean, you don't see half of the bookcase here.
Well, I don't see the book.
Well, I think I was sent all of these books, so you're gonna have to send it to me.
Yeah.
Do we have bookstores anymore? I don't know. I'm old school. I still need a bookstore or someone to send it to me. I'm not writing away.
He's big enough, Kratz. You send it to him. He'll take a picture on it.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't get it. I mean,
yeah.
I go way back with Tim Brown. I mean, it was back to the Yankee days with Deion Sanders on the team. We were beat writers together, so I'm a little perturbed at him for not saying. I'm not blaming you. I mean, I'm following you on Twitter. We're following each other, but we don't go back 35 years. So I'm a little upset right now with Tim.
Tim listens to the show every day. He's going to hear it, and if you don't get one now, maybe you fouled him a little bit too hard in a basketball game. I'm just saying.
I couldn't keep up with him. He's an athlete. I'm watching those games.
Books in the mail, Jon. We got you. Good
All
to talk
terrific.
to you. See ya. Jon Heyman with us. Great stuff. Went all over the map here. And, of course, we'll get back to a couple other things with that headliner story coming up in a moment. We got a lot to hit today, but let's also take a second to shout out one of our new great sponsors, and that is SeatGeek, the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. They've got you covered for all of your baseball ticket needs. We'll spend our couple minutes here looking forward at games that we wish that we could attend or that we would grab a ticket for. If you are in the Pittsburgh area right now, you need to hit up SeatGeek and go check out a little Tyler Glasnow against Jared Jones. Can I sell you on that one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anything with Glasnow in it for sure.
Also, Glasnow started his career with which team?
Pirates.
The Pirates.
Did, yes.
I feel like he's that guy.
I was there for his debut.
Okay. So don't you think it? I mean, I'm sure obviously he's been back there, but it's got a little something extra to it.
Maybe a little bit.
Not for me. That's why I was waiting to pick my game. My game. I'm picking one a little bit later, but yeah, obviously Glasnow's. I think maybe when he first got traded over and he I don't have to throw sinkers anymore. Oh, that you just want me to be a high ball at the top of the zone with extra cut and the bangarang down the middle. Yeah, maybe he had a little extra fire. Now he's kind of hey, I appreciate, he even said it on the show, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the time to learn. Maybe I didn't appreciate Pirate City as much as I should have. But, man, would the Pirates look really good right now if they had Tyler Glasnow?
I disagree. I think that he's one of those guys that is chill, laid back, all that, appreciates the time, but also looks back I should have been a stud earlier on. These guys were not giving me the game plan I needed to succeed, and I thrived elsewhere. So as cool and chill as I seem on the outside, you've seen me in the playoffs look like I'm going to rip someone's head off, and when I go back to Pittsburgh, it's going to be packed for Jones against Glasnow, and I think he's going to shove, but that's me. All right, so you're bragging about your game. Where are you going?
KC and Cleveland, in Cleveland, because nobody ever talks about the Central. You're going Tristan McKenzie versus essentially the Cy Young Award winner right now besides Luis Heel from the American League and Seth Lugo. We got to be able to give these Central games that if it was the Cleveland Browns versus the Kansas City Chiefs and they were the top two in their division in the NFL, it would be the Sunday night game, the Monday night game, the primetime game, whatever it is. We got to give this love. This is how baseball grows because this is going to be a great series and a great game.
Yeah, I'm going to stay close to home. I like that pick, Kratzy. Seth Lugo is a beast. I'm going to stay home here. I want to see Luis Heel again. He's been electric. Bailey Ober, he's been absolutely phenomenal too, 5-3. And We'll see if the Twins can find a way to beat these Yankees, man. Not many teams have, so should be a good game.
They spanked them last time they met up last month. I think they outscored them like 13-1. So anyway, you can get tickets to whatever you want. Sports games, concerts, the whole deal. New partner, SeatGeek, over 28 million downloads. That makes them the #1 rated ticketing app. There's a reason why. Super easy to navigate. You got baseball season in full swing, and they have your tickets to every single game out there in Major League Baseball. And it's backed by their buyer guarantee. They're the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. So FT's got you hooked up with our new code FOUL, FOUL, for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code FOUL, FOUL. Make sure you click the link in the description in YouTube or wherever you get your pods. We'll post that in there to download the app. It's better than box scores. All right, before we even start, Reese Hoskins returned home to Philadelphia as now a Milwaukee Brewer. We do have sound from when the crowd welcomed him. So we'll all judge what it sounded like. Here it is. 1 second. So,
What do you?
well,
So
we're loading it up. We're loading it up in the
yesterday-
comp.
Just so people that didn't hear the show, yesterday we had 2 people that thought there was going to be cheers,
There you go.
and one person who catches the trash from Pennsylvania thought there was going to be sewer.
No, you said there was going to be booze.
I said there would be some booze, but there would be more cheers.
Oh, so now he's retracting what he said from yesterday because I called him out, and then he said, "No, I'm with you. I said there were going to be booze." Go ahead.
It
You
went
can roll the tape. Go ahead and roll that tape and show
Meeting
what
between
really
the Brewers and the Phillies. It's going to be an emotional return for Reese Hoskins. Phillies fans on their feet, a tip of the cap from his former Phillies teammates as Reese Hoskins was introduced. Reese Hoskins tips his cap to the Citizens Bank faithful. They still love him here in Philadelphia.
Well,
They had the montage. They had the
Yeah.
Vontage. And then there was people booing the people who were cheering. So I don't know if he actually got any real booze.
Listen, today's what? Tuesday?
mm-hmm.
Monday. It wasn't the real crowd. You get them on the weekend, there's going to be some booze.
This dude's anti-Philly bias right here.
No.
Yeah.
It's
That was
the Jersey in you right
Very
now.
nice what they did.
It was
He
nice,
deserved
right?
that.
He did.
deserved that.
And now they're going to boo him because he eventually homered later in the game. It was a
Then
great game.
I heard some booze when he hit the home run.
As they should. But, they played his song, Slide by Calvin Harris, which is a great track, great little tune when he was in Philadelphia, his walk-up song. So that was cool. And then I also loved the little smack, the little love tap from JT Realmuto when he got him at home. Did you catch that?
I did catch it. But the thing that I caught that Tom McCarthy said on the radio, not on the radio, they're talking about it on the radio today, give you an idea of what Reese Hoskins means. Topper told Tom McCarthy before the game, he said, obviously he's going to get flack for saying this, but Reese Hoskins meant as much as a leader as Derek Jeter when he was with the Yankees. And that, you can't get higher praise than that as far as leadership. Yes, Jeter played for, however many years. He had his 19 years in the pinstripes. He won the World Series. Reese didn't win World Series. He's talking about the leadership. And that comparison from a guy who saw both guys for a long time, that's very impressive.
Indeed.
Agree.
Yeah, it was a great game. Phillies won, though, 3-1.
Zach Wheeler won.
Yeah, Zach Wheeler won. What was it, 113 pitches?
He just chill. He just no motion, nothing. Just does what he does.
It almost looks
There
like
he
he
is.
doesn't. It almost looks like he doesn't really turn it up until he needs to. And the fact that Reese hit the dinger off of him, like there was never really any tough moments. Yes, Reese almost scored on a play at the plate, great throw by Rojas, but that's a 2-1 pitch that he's coming right at a guy. He's not looking to go 3-1, and he's got a 30 home run, 100 RBI player in Reese Hoskins, like is going to hit that ball out of the ballpark. But Zach Wheeler is just cruising through this season, cruising. And really the offense didn't do much. The top of the order did nothing. David Dahl, welcome back to the big leagues. 2019 or 2017 All-Star? I forget
19.
which year he made the All-Star.
19.
Just welcome back to the big leagues. He had like a 660 slugging percentage in the minor leagues. Had 12 homers already. Comes up to the show, bushes. That's the kind of team you want to get called up to where you're like, oh, you want me to play? Oh, okay. Bryce Wilson, that's a nice little first game. Dang.
He said it was
Wilson looking like, how, what?
And Dahl, I mean, Dahl's played. He's been in the bigs for a minute. He's been on and off the field, a ton of injuries in his career. He's 30 years old now, and he said it was the best moment he's ever had on a baseball field because then they give him the standing O. I mean, that Philly crowd was freaking – they were bringing it yesterday because it was like a playoff atmosphere because of how packed it was. People were getting there for first-place teams, for Reese coming back, and then, yeah, Dahl hits the homers. So Brandon Marsh on the IL, by the way, and he's having a great year, hamstring strain. So, again, right now – injuries like this aren't hurting the Phillies as much as they hurt other teams because their stars are playing like stars. Bryce Harper was just player of the month. All right, let's get back to the headliner story of the day. It stands out a ton. You know, on this show, we're going to cover it in really every angle that we can. So Lindsey Adler joining us right now from the Wall Street Journal, part of the group that broke the story about Marcano and the entire investigation that was going on with Major League Baseball, along with her colleague, Jared Diamond, who we had recently on the show. Both of them do incredible work. So, Lindsey, great to have you on here. And can you give us more context on the story and how it's kind of, you know, sending shockwaves through Major League Baseball? Despite it not being big names, this is actually a current player getting banned from the game.
Yeah, this is really the start of, I think, a wave. I think Tucupita Marcano's lifetime ban is obviously the headline, but today 4 other players were also suspended for placing bets on baseball. It's something that the league is really going to have to monitor both in players and employees and just throughout the game. You know, we all know how important Major League Baseball's betting integrity has been to the game, given the history of Throne World Series and Pete Rose. And I think what's interesting here is that we're going to see these things and baseball's tracking it very closely. I think it's these investigations didn't come out of nowhere. Major League Baseball works with its legal sports betting partners to flag players and employees betting on baseball, and this is sort of, I think, the first move that we've seen on this issue.
Now, you put a word out there in the beginning. You said this is kind of like a wave. Are you pertaining to there might be more players, or is it just something where, you know, it's going to keep going here and they're going to keep looking into it more and more? Like, what kind of wave are we talking about? I
mean, baseball is tracking, you know, or is getting updates on situations like this. I mean, the volume of people involved in running baseball as an industry is just sort of enormous. You have many major league players, even more minor league players, and then people throughout the game. So I think I'm not, you know, sure what we will see next, when we will see things next, but I think as we see such an increase in the availability of sports betting and really having it sort of in your face in every regard, you know, it's a big industry, and a lot of these issues, or these players who were suspended today, you know, these issues were flagged months ago. And so I think Major League Baseball will keep it very close to the vest, but I just think it's going to be, I think, something that they keep a very close eye on.
You said they were flagged a few months ago. So did these players know they were flagged a few months ago, or is this something that like they just found out when we're finding out?
That's not totally clear to me. We reached out to the representatives for all of the players today and haven't really heard back. But yeah, the league works they're business partners with these legal sports betting operators now. And so they do send them the names and dates of birth of not just players, but baseball employees, and can be notified when there are issues. So, Todd, Erik, you guys know baseball is constantly drilling this into players. Don't bet on baseball. Don't bet on baseball. I received the list of times that players are informed about Major League Baseball's Rule 21. It seems like every spring training. It seems like the union is involved. So I am curious. I would love to know sort of what these players really were thinking and feeling, and sort of how this process is played out. But so far, we haven't heard from them directly.
Do you have any evidence of what that process is, in the sense of like, because when there's drug testing, drug tester comes in, test it, and weeks before, there's an appeal process. Is there an appeal process for this? Do you have any information as far as what the players, like, they find out and then they can appeal? They can say, no, it wasn't me, it was my cousin. How does that work?
My understanding, and I don't have the full details, but my understanding is it essentially works like any other rule violation, whether it's the domestic violence rule, whether it's the steroid rule. I believe that these are coming out now sort of because, the league has, been doing its investigations, having its conversations. I will be interested to see if any of these players appeal, but also you can see in the press release, the league notes, let me see the language. There's no evidence to suggest, and said player denies, that any outcomes in the baseball games on which he placed bets or compromised, influenced, or manipulated in any way. So the players have been at least involved in these conversations. I do believe it works sort of just like a standard rule violation, where there is sort of a lot more behind the scene that most fans probably don't know is getting talked about, sorted out, and sometimes negotiated before the press release, hits my inbox.
Hey, Lindsay, question for you about the timing of announcements today. Why do you think this was announced today? Do you think like everything was suddenly summed up today on the same exact day that we just find out, maybe like an hour after that news, that Shohei Otani's former and longtime interpreter, is pleading guilty to bank and tax fraud charges? And, I'm just reading what I saw here. A change of plea hearing in federal court this morning. Maximum sentence is 33 years. Sentencing, that's not what the sentence is, just for everyone. Sentencing is set for October 25th. And then you get the statement from the Dodgers saying that, essentially that Otani and the team can put this matter behind them and move forward in pursuit of a World Series title. And, Otani's cleared. So just wanted to get that all out there because we hadn't talked about it on our show. But why are we getting this all today? Do you think that, everyone huddled up and was like, hey, let's do all of the betting ugliness in one day? And also, these are two very different outcomes, right? This is one player who was a victim of fraud. And then this is other players who were proven through regulated sports books that they bet on baseball.
I'm not totally sure on the timing. I would love to have, sort of a TikTok update on when Major League Baseball plans to announce its various disciplines and punishment. But, I would say that the way that today's, player betting announcement looks is pretty much how we get the, steroid updates. It'll come in press release as like 5 players suspended for PED usage. So I'm not totally sure. I mean, my colleague Jared and I broke the story about Marcano yesterday. I'm not sure if the league was intending to release, the situation with the 5 players today, or if, that's sort of coincidental. I think the Mizuhara thing is sort of operating on its own track at this point. The league also put out a statement about that and said MLB considers Shohei Otani a victim of fraud, and this matter has been closed. So it might just be a pretty busy but tidy day over the league offices on the increasingly prevalent conversation about sports betting.
Does the league want to, or give you any inclination that they'll be changing any kind of their stance? Because this hasn't happened, hasn't come up before this year, and even the Ipe stuff wasn't a player. Now we have David Fletcher and the stuff that he's going through. Is the league giving an inclination that they are maybe trying to change how they go about things, or are they just going to stick to hey, we'll just react to whatever happens instead of being preactive, they'll just be reactive?
I don't know. I haven't heard any indications along those lines. I mean, the league stance is essentially, look, we make the league rules very clear. As you guys know, the league rules are posted in every clubhouse. They have these discussions all the time. I mean, really, baseball is sort of liberal about their sports betting rules. Players can place legal bets on football, basketball, whatever it is. The issue really just arises when they place bets on baseball, or place bets, in Mizuhara's case, through an illegal, bookmaker. In that case, sports betting is not legal in California. So I think there's a few different issues here, but I think baseball probably feels that it is being pretty proactive and being very, very adamant with its players and employees about sort of the specifics of Rule 21, as it has been for a very long time, thanks to Pete Rose. That's something I find pretty interesting, as sports leagues and entities are dealing with this. Like, this has just been a baseball conversation for a very, very long time, like long before the Supreme Court opened the door to legalize sports betting in 2018. So I don't know. I don't know really that the league feels there's much else more to do at this point. But if that changes, I would love to find out.
Hey, Lindsay, last one from me. Were you surprised when you uncovered this story before it was announced? Were you surprised about the news that it involved a current player? I mean, we saw this in a somewhat similar case in basketball with a, kind of a lesser known player right now. I mean, more known just because of a family member in the NBA, but, wasn't a big player in the NBA. And Marcano certainly is not going to be known by, I would say, most even moderate baseball fans, unless they were Padres or Pirates fans, perhaps. But when you saw this news, what was your reaction?
Well, my colleague, Jared Diamond, asked me why I knew so much off the bat about Tucupita Marcano. And I don't know, following Padres prospects has been a pretty worthwhile pursuit for the last 10 years or so, I would say. But no, I mean, these are, players are people. Players are fallible. It doesn't, you can tell them over and over, this is baseball's, essentially number one rule. And people make mistakes. People get caught up in things. People like to try different things. I don't think it really shocks me. I don't, I mean, I look at the figures that we're getting in this press release today. These are for the most part pretty small amounts. Like, Michael Kelly wagered less than $100 and now forfeits nearly $750,000 in salary for the year after spending 10 years working to make the big leagues. So I think what's shocking to me is sort of how much is at risk here, but the fact that, this is something that people are choosing to do is not particularly surprising to me. I just think the consequences, at least in all of these cases, seem to extraordinarily outweigh their winnings, as reported to us by MLB.
Yeah, you're right, especially for the minor league guys. That's why I'm looking at it when we talked at the top. I'm like, do they not understand the rules? Because you're betting like a few $100 total and you're costing yourself tons of money in a year of baseball and your reputation. It's just strange. So maybe one of them will talk on the record at some point. In the meantime, thanks for the great work that you do, and I appreciate you joining us, Lindsey.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Lindsey Adler. You can follow her at Lindsey Adler, her name, on Twitter. Also, check out her work in the Wall Street Journal. We'll post some of these clips as we always do. And then you can link over to check out more of her work. But that's the question that pops up for me. I'm like, if you're in the minor leagues, do you not know how things work? Did you not listen when they were speaking to you, right?
No,
when do they do that with
do
you
it
guys?
in English and Spanish.
And when do they do it? Spring training?
Spring training.
Okay.
Yep. And then minor league camp, they do it as well. Kratz, right or no?
They have the poster. You're exactly right. They have the poster hung up in every locker room, and teams, because the team officials, like there's like certain team officials that they're the ones that have to talk about it and have to actually read the exact verbatim from it. I've been on teams where that person, male or female, will approach players and have them read like a portion of it, and they'll put together an entire clip so that we're not all just sitting there like, ugh. So you get guys reading it, and like you'll read the first line. Players will not bet on baseball. If you are a team official, and then Todd would read the next line, and it would just be, it's funny. Obviously, you guys haven't seen me do a read, but everybody on the show has seen me do a read, and it's terrible. So when professional athletes do reads and you put them together, it's hilarious. So you hear it every spring training.
Yep, you have to sit there, make sure you hear it, and whether you want to hear it or not, you're going to hear it. So,
and you got to sign that you heard it. Like,
yeah,
you sign that it was read. So it is every single person knows.
Agreed.
And then we got the Ipe news, which I mentioned just now with Lindsey, but we see that. I mean, I don't think there's any surprise there. We knew that he was going to plead guilty. We'll get the sentencing not for a while. October?
That's
you don't
weird.
Get the sentencing until October?
It seemed like everything.
But he's out on bail right now, right?
Right. So he gets to chill for
There's a lot more shit going on
months
in the world.
I understand.
No,
but
that happens everywhere. Somebody gets
I know that's how
indicted or
court
everything else.
crap
It's like,
goes.
you get indicted now. It's like, oh, wait till February when Christmas is over.
Hey, even in Major League Baseball, and I don't know how other sports work, but in Major League Baseball, when there's a suspension, I think it's gotten better, but it's still kind of dated. You do the appeal. Like if you're a reliever, just like pitch him 2 games. Then if you feel like you get a 1 or a 2 gamer, then you drop the appeal so that you get your rest on the same time. You lose a little money, but you don't lose any games as a team out of your player. Like if you got in a brawl or something like that, and you're one of those guys that got a small suspension. And I remember when I first learned about that years ago, I was like, can't they just do a quick call and listen to the appeal? Well, I get it. People have lives and schedules, but sometimes, Kratz, it would be like a week plus until they had the appeal, maybe more, maybe 2 weeks, something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, if they actually just want to drop the appeal in the meantime and just miss a game or 2, they'll just do that for a rest day.
Yeah. Hey, wait till your day off. We got a day game after a night game. Why don't you drop your appeal on the Tuesday night game, and then you can hop on the bird when we're flying out for our off day Thursday. So you missed the Wednesday game. Oh, and Chris Sale's pitching, so I know you're trying to duck Sale.
Exactly. Pick and choose.
Agreed. All right, so we have a lot more to get to, so let's get back to Better Than Box Scores. I'm going to bounce around a little bit here. We talked to Jon Heyman about this, but briefly, and I'm actually curious, Kratz, I didn't ask you this before. Did you play with Garcia, with Avisail Garcia?
I did.
You did? Okay.
Sorry,
so
we both did.
What team were you on?
Race. And I would have gone up against what you said, Todd. I thought it was a good signing. If the Marlins have young guys,
I said it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes,
I just want to take the hit for it
I'm on your
because
mind. That's why.
I crushed it when it happened. I know what was his big year? 21. He had 29 homers, 117 OPS plus. But I mean, it always been inconsistency.
Bro,
I had
love
some
it.
other questions. Miami's tough to concentrate, and there was not great coaching in place. Well, obviously until Skip and the crew started taking over. But your thoughts?
I thought it was a great signing for him. I thought the Marlins, yes, I get the fact that they don't have a lot of money. I'm naive to the fact that, well, they don't have a lot of money and now they're going to start spending. If you're going to start spending, to me, I love the Avisail Garcia signing because of how much he played on good Tigers teams. He played around veteran guys during that time. He worked through struggles. He wasn't always just an elite superstar. He worked through struggles. He did some good things in Milwaukee, and he had become that guy. I think it was a 4-year deal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 4 years, $53 million.
53. Some people say, oh, that's too high. It's too many years for a guy that age. Okay, I'm not going to debate that part of it. I'm going to tell you that this guy has grinded through a lot, and the way that he can connect with Americans and, English-speaking and Spanish-speaking guys, there's a value to that. And his performance cratered, injuries, all that stuff. And I see a signing like this, and I say, good for the Marlins. They're pushing in the right direction. Let's give $15 million, a little under $15 million, to give a guy like that to push this organization in the right direction. So I was wrong.
Yeah, he's a fun-loving dude, man. He's a family guy. He's a guy that you want to play. You want to play for, man. I had a blast playing with him. He'd get frustrated, but then he'd move on. Like, he's one of those dudes where when he got mad, you'd laugh because he's such a big goofball, but still a big guy at the same time. You wouldn't want to see him at a bar by himself ready to attack somebody. But he is fun-loving dude, man. He's one of my top 10 favorite guys in baseball when I played, and sad to see him go off the squad, but knowing him, he's got a smile on his face, and he might get picked up by somebody else. Never know.
Yeah, he might get picked up. Yeah. He was trying to switch things up, too. I was trying to look real quick at the beginning of the season. He was trying to mimic somebody. I think, it was a Rise. He did one of the old, hey, it's not working for me right now, so tell me what you do, because I like what you do.
I love it.
Right?
That's what I mean.
That's a different cat, though. Luis Rise is on another planet.
No, but there's tons of stories like that, and that's what I mean. Like how hard he works. Is Luis Rise on a different planet? Absolutely. But the comp that I always tell people when I hear stuff like that, I hadn't heard that until you just said it, Scott, is the comp that Placido Polanco and Albert Pujols essentially had the same approach with their swings. One dude was a monster. Another dude was Placido Polanco. But you can have the same approach, and as a different size, you're going to get a lot of things different. Is he going to be a slap hitter? No, he's not a slap hitter. But at 250 pounds, running like a horse, I commend him for even trying that, because you see a skill that you don't have in Luis Rise, and you're like, hey, I'll try it. I'll pick anything up.
Okay. You ever do that? You ever talk to a dude and be like, yo,
yes,
show me what you do?
Oh, without a doubt, I would ask, but some of them I couldn't keep up with. Yeah, if I tried changing my swing, I'd be sitting here a lot earlier.
You would have been with me sooner.
Yeah, I have an unorthodox swing. I can't really change what I have.
People can't do what Todd does.
Right.
I like that.
Did you have guys come up to you like, hey, show me what you do? Or they're like, dude, you're weird, but it works.
A little bit of both. More like, I don't know what you're doing, but I could never do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Like Hunter Pence. Obviously, you're not as crazy and wild and wacky, but if you take the mechanics of both of their swings, you'd be like, it's like a wild horse. If you own a wild horse, you're like, hey, there's my wild horse. I got myself a Todd Frazier, and people are like, hey, can I go ride that wild horse? No, that's dangerous. Don't change your swing like Todd Frazier.
I'll take your horse. I'll raise you a bull.
A bull.
Adam the Bull joining us on FT Live for the first time. You can follow him at Adam the Bull. He's been a longtime friend of mine. I've been on his shows many times. You can hear him on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show, and the podcast, The Bullpen with Adam the Bull. I was on his show a couple weeks ago talking Guardians. They've been even better since then. So how you doing, Adam? What's up?
I'm doing great, Scott. How are you? How are you guys? I got to tell you, Todd, it's great to hear a baseball player with a New York, New Jersey accent, because when I was a kid, I was like, every baseball player is from the South. None of them sound like me. I grew up in New York, and I'm like, what is happening here? I got no baseball players when they talk that sound like a Northeasterner, and I love it. Erik.
Appreciate it.
Leo Mazzilli? Leo Mazzilli?
I'll give you a bizarre story. You brought up Lee Mazzilli. Here's a bizarre story. Lee Mazzilli's, I think it's so many years ago, I'm so old, but when I was playing Babe Ruth League, right? I think that's what it was called when I was 13. Lee Mazzilli's nephew, I believe it was his nephew. Maybe it was a made-up nephew, but our catcher on our team swore to me he was Lee Mazzilli's nephew. Now, maybe he was lying. I don't know that I ever confirmed it. The kid's name was Mitch Margulies. How I remember that, I have no idea. But we were one win away from the national tournament. We played for the New York State title in 1984. We beat Gerritsen Beach to win the Brooklyn Championship, and we lost in the state championship game. And part of the reason we lost is because I got hit by a pitch and I charged a mound and I got kicked out of the game. What an idiot I was, but I was 13. I was out of control.
Wow, look at you.
Went. I love that. At 13, you got hit by a pitch, and you only in the Northeast, bro. Respect.
That's right.
Stop, Todd.
That's right.
Stop.
No,
Stop.
I love it.
Don't let Bull bring his lies onto this show. You charged him out in the championship game in the New York State. Come on, Bull.
I swear to you, it was dumb. I admit now that I'm old. I can admit it's dumb, but I did that. I was a lunatic.
Did you get him?
I need a camcorder. I need a camcorder VHS video of that.
I was trying to do the Nolan Ryan, Robin Ventura. I actually don't even know if that had happened yet. I don't remember the timeline, but no, I got there and then it got broken up and I got kicked out of the game and I got booed by the other fans. It was terrible.
You got your nickname from a really good buddy of mine, Leon Bull Durham, bro. He was my hitting coach for Team USA and Erik's hitting coach. We're on the same team, man. He would always come back to he was the best. After a game, he'd pour himself some Bombay. He'd be, Frazier, I got half left. Boom. Every game, he'd give me some of that Bombay, and we would be just chilling. I love that.
I grew up in New York, but I'm a Cubs fan because my dad was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan. And then when the Dodgers left, he didn't wait for the Mets, and he liked Ernie Banks a lot as a kid. And so I I'm a lefty. The weird combo. I'm a lefty fielder, righty hitter. And now I'm fat as a house. So what are you going to do? But at the time, I was like you can't tell by the camera, but I'm short. I'm 5'8", but I've been 5'8" basically since like 11 years old. So when I was 11, I was super tall. I was like the second tallest kid in my class. I played first base. I was the king of the 13-year-old 3-6-3 double play. Nobody turned it better. And I played first base, big kid. And so my friends started calling me Bull because my two favorite players as a kid were Leon Durham. Well, Leon Durham, Ryan Sandberg, and Lee Smith. Those are my three favorite guys. Still pissed that the Cubs traded Lee Smith to the Red Sox for Calvin Schiraldi and Al Nipper. That was a disgrace. It was a disgrace then. It should never have happened. But yeah, once I went to college and I started doing radio because I realized I wasn't good enough to play baseball professionally, that I got to talk about it. I had another roommate named Adam, and they're like, "What's your nickname?" I said, "My friends call me the Bull," and it just took off. And I got a long last name that's really not good for the air, so I just go with that. But I love Leon Durham. He was the man.
That's full. That's cool. I love Bull also. What a hitting coach. He would say, just gotta go hit the ball. I'll see you later, Frazier, okay? Just gotta go hit the ball. That was a good hit. That's all he'd really tell us. But let me tell you this. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are the Guardians actually good?
That's the bizarre question, right? My co-host of the Ultimate Guardian Show and I, 2 weeks ago, we were like, we're going to stop saying they shouldn't be doing this because they are. And it's, 60 games or whatever it is now. And yeah, there's certainly clear flaws on this team. They're getting nothing out of shortstop. They're getting very little out of right field. They're getting almost nothing offensively out of catcher. Who knew Bo Naylor would go from he's not that great defensively and he can hit to I can't hit and I'm the best pitch framer in the league. I don't know how that turned around so quickly. And I'm worried about the starting rotation, and I'm worried about how much the bullpen's getting used. But in the end, I think Stephen Vogt's done an amazing job getting in and out of the line, with his lineup moves, keeping guys fresh. And he's done the best he can with a bullpen that's, being forced to work so much because the starting rotation has not been very reliable. But yeah, I think they are a good team. And I'm hopeful that for the first time in forever, ownership will open up that purse and spend some money, which they haven't done. And I've screamed and yelled about it like a lunatic. Scott and I talked about this when he came on my show. I hate that they don't spend enough. And, you've had this great front office for so many years. If they had some more money to spend, who knows how many more games. They've already won a ton of games, obviously, since they've been here. But I do think they're a good team, and I'm rambling now, but I think they can be better. I would love to see them do an anti-Guardians move and try to make a blockbuster trade with the Blue Jays, see if you can get Bo Bichette. I love all their starting pitchers. Like, be aggressive. Let's go. Let's make this team better, because I personally think the American League's kind of open. I know the Yankees and Orioles are really good, but they're not like all-time good. At least I don't think. So let's go. Let's be competitive, and let's be even better. Let's not settle for being good. Let's try to be great. So hopefully they'll do that.
So Bo Bichette, that's what it is. That's what'll get that. That's what'll get that Rajay Davis home run to be a walk-off home run instead of, that, like, if the Guardians, if you're the Guardians ownership, if they have money, if they don't have money, that's not what I'm going to sit here and argue. Is Bo Bichette depleting 3 players from 3 of your top 5 players from your farm? Is Bo Bichette what pushes them over to be World Series champions?
I think it gives them a much better chance because it's a massive hole in the lineup. And I know he hasn't been great so far this year, but yeah, I mean, you guys know better than me how good he is. And I think I think he'd come here. He'd be in a winning environment. Obviously, the Blue Jays are a mess right now, and I think he would succeed. I don't think that's it. I mean, I think they'd be competitive. I do think they need another starting pitcher too. So I'd love to see them do that, whether it's one of the Blue Jays guys or go get Jesus Luzardo from the Marlins. And yes, you're right, Erik. It's going to cost a lot to get him. But the Guardians have been sitting on all these prospects for so many years. Some of them have done well, some of them have not. And it's time. And I, honestly, I'm not trading whoever they're going to end up drafting with the first overall pick in the draft this year. But outside of that, I'm willing to move almost anybody in the right deal. And I personally think Bichette is the right guy to get, because then you lengthen what's been a much better lineup than expected. I think it would be big. So, yes, does it make them win the World Series? I mean, you guys know, of course, you never know once you get to the playoffs. But I think the Guardians, with one more pitcher and a shortstop, can be very competitive against these other teams.
I'm going to squash that just because I don't think the Blue Jays will make the deal. And also, because obviously Atkins came out and said this weekend, right, that they're not trading Vladdy and Bo, at least right now, right? Maybe after this year, if they end up finishing like they look right now. The other thing to keep in mind, Bo Bichette's not hitting well this year.
I know.
He's got an 81 OPS plus. I'm not saying that's the problem, though, because some people will look at that and be like, why do I want that? I'm buying stock in Bo Bichette. I actually think he needs a change of scenery, and he's just been in the same spot for a while, and they didn't do much this past offseason. I just think that's actually going to also hurt a trade, right? You're still going to have that battle where they're going to go, oh, well, we don't think, he's worth this right now, all that crap. I think it's tough. So I just want to so let's try and find another spot too here. Try and figure out any other holes that we can fill. So you feel like shortstop's the big spot though on the offensive side? Because in my mind, Bull, I think the lineup is okay. It's definitely better than it was last year. I know they changed the approach and all of that, but you still look at the lineup and you're like, this lineup is doing this. And then you look at the peripheral stats and even just some of the clutch stats, like they are delivering constantly with runners in scoring position. Like some of that is skill. Some of that usually regresses to the mean. So I'm just trying to figure out some other names that we can throw out there to help them.
Well, the fans here want to get Francisco Lindor back, but obviously the Mets are not going to eat all that money to get him back, because the Guardians wouldn't take him unless they had to pay him like $10, $12 million a year, and he's got 7 years left. The fans want him back bad. They feel like he'll be better here. It's tough. Obviously, there's not a ton of options at the position, and most of the teams that are terrible, like the White Sox and the Marlins and the Rockies, they don't have a lot to offer in terms of the lineup and in terms of shortstop. But so I don't know that there's a ton of great options, but the Guardians have to be aggressive. And whether it's whether it's getting better as in the starting rotation or in the lineup, they need to do both. But to your point about the clutch stats, yes, I know it's been way out of whack this year, but sometimes it doesn't right itself till the following season. And because it's baseball, right? You never know. Sometimes the numbers tell you one thing, and then it just keeps going the other way when you expect it to eventually settle down. And maybe it will, but they just had an incredible month of May, and that was without Stephen Kwan the whole month. So now that he's back, he goes 4 for 8 in his first 2 games back. I can't believe Jose Ramirez had 33 RBIs in a month that Stephen Kwan didn't play. It's just nuts.
Yeah, and I was about to go ahead, Kratzy.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, are we missing as national baseball fans, because we don't watch all Cleveland games?
Yeah.
Are we missing what David Fry is doing? And is what David Fry doing, is he overshadowing what Jose Ramirez is doing? And who should be their candidate for MVP of the American League?
As great as Fry's been, I'd still go with Jose Ramirez. You can make an argument for Emmanuel Clase. He's been, you guys know, better than me. I didn't play in the big leagues. When you have a closer that just is like a sure thing, as opposed to like some of these teams, when you have a closer that you're worried about blowing it all the time, it kills the whole team. But Clase's been lights out. But David Fry has been incredible. I'm not going to lie. I did not see this coming. I remember on opening day, I was pissed off that Bo Naylor wasn't in the starting lineup. I'm like, what are we doing? Why is David Fry in the starting lineup on opening day? What the hell is happening here? Well, don't I look like an idiot? Because David Fry has been incredible. I think as of like a week or so ago, he was only one of 5 Indians/Guardians players of all time to have an on base at the time of 500 or better at this point in the season. And the only other guys were like Tomey and Manny. It was just, I think Larry Doby maybe. Like these all-time great players. And this guy's a guy who was in the minors forever. He's 28, I think, whatever he is. But, man, all he does is put the bat on the ball. He has such a great approach at the plate. Obviously I shouldn't say obviously. He's probably not going to keep it up at this pace. But they have definitely found something with him. They've had so many of these prospects like Arias and Rocchio and these other guys who have come up and have really struggled. And this one guy who's a non-prospect, like nobody thought anything of him, has just been fantastic. And the guys love him. He is really popular on this team, and they got great chemistry. And again, as you guys know better than anybody, there's something to be said for that when you got great chemistry in the locker room. And these guys certainly have it right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And my last question to you is, they got the Royals tonight, Seth Lugo on the bump. Talk a little bit about the Royals, man. I know they made some great acquisitions in the offseason, nothing that's going to blow your head off, but they did make some key good players. Did you see this coming from them this year? Only 4 games back.
I thought the Royals would be better. One of my co-hosts on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, we were arguing who was going to be better, the Royals or the Tigers this year. So I won that argument, at least right now. It certainly things could change. I said the Royals. But I certainly did not think they were going to be this good. But I like what they did. They drafted all those pitchers high. Really, they didn't all pan out over the years, after they had been good. And now they went the veteran route. And I've always liked Seth Lugo because, and I had worked, before I came to Cleveland, I had worked in New York on the Fan there for a few years part-time. And I always thought Seth Lugo had some talent. And I never understood why the Mets never really gave him a chance to be a starter. Nobody could have seen him pitching this well. He's been fantastic. And I know this is nerdy to bring up, but I'm an idiot for trading him off my fantasy team a month ago. But he's been lights out. And no, I didn't see them being anywhere close to this good. But when your superstars perform, right? Bobby Witt Jr. has been great. Their old superstar, Salvador Perez. I think we got to start talking about, maybe you guys are already. I don't know. Nobody here knows what the hell they're talking about when it comes to baseball. So I think Salvador Perez is going to be a Hall of Famer. But having Vinny Pasquantino back this year healthy after he missed, I think, almost all of last season has been huge. And I'm still worried about their bullpen, though. MacArthur's been okay as the closer, but I don't trust him. If I were them, I'd get a more proven entity there. We'll see if they spend money. But I think they're legit. I think they're good. I think in the end, it'll be the Guardians and Twins 1-2, but I think the Royals will be in the mix for most.
I agree with you on that one. It's the bullpen that separates the Guardians and Royals for me right now. I think that's a good call. The Royals bullpen, at least numbers wise right now, is significantly worse than Cleveland, and Cleveland's done a really nice job of building bullpens over the last several years. But it's cool. I mean, we didn't think that we'd have like a marquee AL Central matchup in June. It's the Royals and the Guardians. I like it. I love it, especially because the Royals did shit, and we all love that. Right. Fans love that. It makes things exciting. It markets the sport, and now it's freaking paying off for them. If they don't have Waka and Lugo and do some of the damage they did in the offseason, they're not here right now. That's right. So that's why I know you mentioned Cleveland's frustrated because they're like, if we did that, where would we be? Because my thing is, I think they're surprising everyone. But Adam, I said this on the show the other day. I was like, I don't think Cleveland is a World Series contender. Are they a playoff contender? Yes, but I still have a hard time seeing this team even be the Diamondbacks from last year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it right now.
And I get it. I get what you're saying, and that's but what's great about baseball as opposed to, and it's like this way in hockey, but I don't talk much about hockey. But in football and basketball, like you kind of know the teams that are going to win. But in baseball, yes, the Guardians on paper certainly do not look like a World Series contender. And right now, I don't know that they are. But as you said, right, maybe they're not as good as Arizona or Texas. But all the time we have upsets in the playoffs in baseball. The pitching staff gets hot. And if you added, let's say they did trade for Jesus Luzardo, and I know it would take a lot. And let's say Gavin Williams, who is as talented as any pitcher they have, is healthy finally. Hopefully we'll see him late June, early July. If you had, in theory, Luzardo, Gavin Williams, and Tanner Bybee as your top three starters in the playoffs. And I know, Bybee and Gavin Williams are young pitchers. They haven't pitched that much, but there's a ton of talent there. I don't see why they can't be competitive if they improve the lineup and if they added a legitimate top three starter, why they couldn't hang in there. Yes, they'd be underdogs to the Orioles and Yankees, and they should be, but we've seen upsets before, and the Guardians shouldn't just sit on their hands and say, well, we're not as good as those teams. They may never be as good as those teams. It's a chance now to win. I'm not saying they got to have a $200 million payroll, but there's no reason they couldn't have 140, 150. They're at 90 or 100, wherever the heck they are now. Let's go. Let's be aggressive. We want to see it. I want to see it. And by the way, Scott, to your point about a big series, normally, so school here ends a little earlier than where I grew up in New York. The school here ends for most kids this week. But normally, school's still going on, even though the weather's great. Royals, Guardians, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you'd get like 12,000 people at a game. And I think we're going to have some pretty big crowds in Cleveland. I'm going to the Thursday afternoon game. And so I'm excited. I think it's a fun series to watch. And tonight's pitching matchup, Guardians need McKenzie to pitch well. He's given up 5 home runs his last 2 starts. Obviously, the velocity's down from where it had been in the past. So we're worried about him. But I'm excited to watch those two guys go at it tonight.
Yeah, same here. It was perfect timing to have you on. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Always love talking ball with you, and thanks for coming on our show. And you can catch Adam. He has everything posted. He's up to date on Twitter at Adam the Bull, and he's on the Cleveland Sports Show, Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show, and has his own pod, The Bullpen, with Adam the Bull. Great catching up with you, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Adam the Bull with us on FT Live. Does an awesome job covering Cleveland sports, but really can talk ball. He's watching games.
No doubt.
He's watching games. He's doing the homework. He's reading the articles. Like when I go on his show, because you do a lot of radio appearances. I know you guys do too. That's a really enjoyable one for me because you go on there and you're going to have good back and forth. So as you can tell, that was fun.
Confused why he's a Chicago fan out of New York, but that's okay. We'll let him breathe.
And he's in Cleveland, so he's just he's got a lot up against him, right? Yeah. Like you had Cubs, Guardians, or Indians at the time in the World Series not too long ago. So
I feel like he's tough, doing it. I feel like he's doing it to get a rise out of people, and then he just kind of leaned into it. I feel like that's where some of it came from.
Hey, it's nostalgia. You just grip a team when you're a kid, and things happen. So we got Teaser Pucks to show off for everyone. Here they are. I want to give them a shout out and our discount code FOUL, FOUL, at TeesaEnergy.com. Yes, we all have them. They're cool. I've been carrying them around and handing them out to people that I like. So we're going to be in Vegas the next couple days. One more show here, but Thursday and Friday, yes, we have our pucks packed. So no nicotine, no tobacco. It's pouched. It's essentially like kind of like a tea bag, like very small, and provides a little energy boost. And there's the chill version too, but this is the first multi-pack, wintergreen tropical. And also, just for a little FT memorabilia, go check it out.
Some FT love. Beautiful.
Yeah, they nailed it on the artwork. I was with some friends on, what was it, Friday or Saturday night? Saturday night. And they were like, oh, look at this. This is really cool. I want to hang this up somewhere. So go for it. So anyway.
And if it's your first time, there's the best 2 flavors too. If it's your first time, they're legit. You'll love them.
Yeah, we did that on purpose. We picked our 2 favorites. Discount code FOUL, 20% off your first order at TezaEnergy.com. Some people love this segment more than any other. I actually looked at some of our YouTube stats the other day, and when we talk umps, those videos not only perform well, but often like people discover us through that, and often they like come back for anything ump related. So we cover it. We're here for it. Ump showtime.
Right.
All right, so we got 2 today. I want to start with Mike Estabrook. I watched this one live. I happened to be on the Reds-Rockies game last night, and I was texting our awesome social team, and I was like, maybe we should put this one out there because it looked like the strike zone was raised to about neck level on this one. So I just want to get Todd Father's instant reaction. If you took this bad boy for a strike, we can run it.
Let's run it.
It was difficult to watch, and for me, hard to understand how you're behind home plate and you see that coming at your face as an umpire and you think that it's a strike.
Well,
here it is.
Catchers are good. Oh my. Catchers are good at what they do.
It's like, it's not, I mean, for the ump, I guess, but when you're watching it from the high home and you're watching direct, like on TV there, and you see the catcher like go like this.
Oh. Damn.
Kratz, are you proud of the frame job there, or are you like, that wasn't even that good?
Very nice, Tyler Stevenson. Very nice. We talked about it. Tyler Stevenson. He's a monster. Tough for big guys to get the low strike. So, hey, you know what? If you have a guy like Andrew Abbott who's going to mix and match and then buzz that speed ball top of the zone, just get there early in a little Rip City. That's appreciation station for your guy. Don't necessarily just look at don't look at the box on the TV either. The box is not the strike zone. What I got to say about Mike Estabrook last night, he had 72% called strike. Wait, was that Mike Estabrook? I might have had a different game.
Well, are you talking about the next one we're going to do?
Yep.
But the next one's 81%.
Sorry. That one right there, the high strike for Tyler Stevenson, to me, that's the pitch he's got to get for his guys. And he has some guys that can run it up there at the top of the zone. So I say, good job, Tyler Stevenson. And you hit an oppo tank. That's a great catcher day.
That's true.
I like the last part. First part, good for you, Tyler, but it's a ball.
He wasn't the best catcher yesterday. Jake Rogers was on one, framing. Not just for Tarek Skubal, who obviously can shove on his own, but Bo Brisky ended up closing out that game 3 innings. I think technically he picked up the win because they got the run in the 7th, and Rogers had 2 homers. We'll get to that part later, but on the framing side of things, he had Tom Hanahan fooled a few times. So the called strike accuracy, is this what you were talking about, Kratz, was 81% in that game? There was one late, okay? I think I wrote it down so I don't sound stupid. It was a 3-1 pitch, ended up getting a strikeout in the 9th for Brisky. And that's that. You see that red one, right? That's a miss, right? Where he called it a strike, the red one all the way up there at the top.
Yeah.
That's the one. I'm 90% sure that was in the 9th inning. And it was just like Stevenson, similar deal. Because they were gushing about him on the broadcast. They're like, damn, he's done that all night. And I'm like, yeah, he has on pitches wide of the plate too. And look, I mean, some of them are, one's for one side, one's for the other. But Rogers was getting your boy behind the dish.
3-1 count, bottom 9. Oh, man, you got to be better than that.
Yeah, and so then it goes to 3-2, and then Brisky strikes him out with a heater that was in the zone.
Even bottom of the 7th. Nobody out. 3-2 count. The number one. It probably hit the dirt. That's how low it was. God almighty.
Todd coaches what, 8 to 10-year-olds, 8 to 12-year-olds, that range, right?
8.
Hey,
yeah, sounds good.
You know what fans or parents and coaches say. Hey, if it's close, you got to swing. Like you can't say that in the big leagues. Like fans who look at these cards and are like, hey, if it's close, you got to swing. It's okay. Like, no, you can't do that. Dude's coming out of the bullpen with stuff like Brisky, stuff like Johan Duran, stuff like Emmanuel Clase. If you give them more outside of the strike zone, it is a game changer. That's why you can't allow this type of stuff. But on the other hand, Jake Rogers, to me, has some of the best hands in the game. To me, I think it's Jonah Heim, it's Kyle Higashioka, it's Jake Rogers, and it is Jose Trevino. As far as guys that move the ball the best, consistently getting strikes for their team. And the numbers I was talking about were about Estabrook. I looked up his ump card, and he had a 72% strike called correctly. 72%. League average. If you don't like umpires, the league average is 88%. On this one, Tom Hanahan, he was at, I wonder if it's Jake Hanahan's brother, long lost cousin. But anyway, that's an ex-player.
Or Jack
Hanrahan. Well, that was with an R, but yeah.
Jack Hanrahan, Jake Hanahan.
But anyway, Hanahan had an 81%, which, is still not good. It's a below average night.
Not good at all.
By a good margin, but it's no Estabrook. Estabrook was just going through it. That Denver air, you got to stay hydrated out there in Colorado. You guys know, right?
Some of these ump cards, if you follow me on Twitter, I enjoy the ump scorecards, and I'll comment on some of them. Dude, some of these cards, it's seriously, and I've said it twice this week, or maybe once over this weekend and once this week, it looks like the umpires have like one shoe off, like another one shoe game where they're leaning, and the whole time they're just like, strike on this side, strike on this side. And it's like, wait a minute, guy, like, hey, let's pick you up a little bit. Oh, exactly. Those aren't strikes. Okay. Like,
I didn't know what he meant.
Big.
I didn't know what he meant on that joke. I saw that. Did you know that joke?
No, but
that's why I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, I think this is funny, but I don't totally understand it. But I'm going to
from Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore, the caddy who was a homeless guy. He had one. He's like, I think it breaks a little to the left, and he turns around and he goes, "You only got one shoe on." So he's like, he's leaning. So that's what we call. That's what the umpires got one shoe on.
Umpires are told to set up on the inner part of the plate. Mm-hmm. So their head. So say my computer's a strike zone. If we're looking here, they're here. So how are they going to know whether that pitch is a strike or not? And I've always said this. I talked to Joe Torre about it when I complained about the umpires. I said, how do they know if that outside pitch is a strike or not? They'll never know. It's a guess. It's 100% guess, and that's what they're doing. I don't care what anybody says.
What was his answer, and why do they set up like that?
Foul balls are coming right back and hitting the umpires in the face. Well, if that's the case, okay, but umpires are still getting hit in the face. They are, whether they set up inside, outside, or down the middle.
That is 100% why you hit it right on the nose. They're told to set up farther. Older umpires, remember John Hirschbeck told me before he retired, he was like, I'm glad I'm tall. He's like, I'll miss low pitches. He said, but I can sit in the middle, straight behind a dish, because he was talking about catching behind me, 6'5". He's like, I might be able to lean inside a little bit more. He's not going to be able to see the pitch away. And soon after that is when they started to say, hey, we want you to set up inside, concussion protocol, that kind of thing. Now you're safer in there, and you're going to see more pitches skewed to missing pitches away.
Fun fact. Mm-hmm. You always learn something. And I just want to say at the end of this segment that we do give a ton of credit to umps that have great days.
Sure.
We've done that I think twice over the last week or two, and Erik Kratz specifically looks for those A-plus ump cards, and when he sees them, he prints it out on a piece of paper, and he dances around the house, just like that Fatboy Slim music video. You seen that music video?
I have not.
Oh, it's with John Voight from back in the day. You ever seen that music video? I'll show you guys later. Someone knows what I'm talking about in the chat. Someone's giggling right now. Money moves.
Show me the money. Show me the money! Show me the money!
Well, this is an interesting money moves category. The Astros picked up one of their best wins of the season last night, 7-4. Now they're 27-34, still working on their climb back to the 500 mark. They were trailing the Cardinals early. You had homers from some of the big boys like Jordan. Bregman's actually on a heater. I think he's got 5 in his last 7 games. Uh-oh, here he comes. Yes, 5 in his last 7. And Yainer Diaz hadn't homered since April 11th. I didn't realize how long it had been. Nice, clean.
And he was 0 for his last 16 before that.
Yeah, so all those good things, right? But there is bad news, too. Christian Javier looks like he might get another Tommy John. Or, sorry, I'm sorry. Take that back. Urquidy, sorry.
Urquidy.
Pulled off his rehab start and could be headed for a second Tommy John surgery, so we'll keep an eye on that. But the reason this is in Money Moves is GM Dana Brown doubled down to reporters, including Chandler Rome, our friend who works at The Athletic and covers the team. Dana Brown, GM of the Astros, said, quote, "I don't see any scenario where we're sellers. If there's any sign of hope, I can't see us doing it. It's also a good time for me to plug Fair Territory because I haven't listened to it yet because we have our show going on, but apparently Ken went against that a little bit, so we'll listen to that later to see what he said. But I actually believe him. Without maybe my mind will change when I hear Ken, but I believe him. Dana Brown's a pretty straight shooter. Jim Crane does not want to give in. So even if they're 5 games out of a playoff spot come trade deadline time, I think they're buying and they're looking at a Pete Alonso, like Jon Heyman said.
That would be phenomenal for them. I like the sign. If you're a player on this team, you're thinking, you know what? Let's keep rolling because they do have a good team. They're solid. And at the end of the day, I think they're going to be just fine. So, again, if they pick up a piece or two, so be it. Watch out for the Astros as they move forward, man, because you can never count this team out.
What if in the offseason they picked up a closer to take over from their other closer and they upgraded their struggling offense with, say, Alex Presley getting shipped to the Orioles and picking up Jackson Holliday?
No chance.
Oh,
that's a bad trade. Jackson Holliday for Ryan Presley, not even close. Not even in the same stratosphere. Presley's going to be a free agent after this year.
I'm just saying. Dana Brown can't say no, nobody, can't happen. Like, if there's value.
Oh, I know what you're saying. You're saying if you get a big enough offer, I get what you're saying. If you get a big enough offer, you think he's going to be talked into something? Well, see, I think that's what's wrong with our game, though, Kratz. So I think sometimes we get to the trade deadline and teams are like, well, what does the offer look like? And then I'll decide. I'm like, well, don't you know if your team's going to try for the rest of the year or not? Like, you're basing it off which prospect you're going to get?
They don't want to show their hand. They always do that stuff.
Not every team does this, but my point is I respect the Astros for taking a little more of an old school approach. Like, yo, we're going for it, and we don't give a crap, or at least this is what they're saying, but I'm buying it. They're going for it.
Okay, if you're going for it, then trade for Pete Alonso tomorrow. To me, this
he's not available yet.
Because you ain't made him available.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
What do you think? But my point is, Kratz, when a team's not doing well and you have a transparent GM who does speak to the media frequently, he's going to get these questions. So he's just doubling down, being like, "Nah, we're good. We're going for it." You know, I'm just saying. What else do you want him to do right now? What do you want him to say? I think he's saying something that's believable to me, and he's saying what he's supposed to be saying, and he's making himself accessible. Yes, if they're 12 games under when we get to July 30th, they're probably going to make some moves.
I think it'll happen. I think we'll know by July 1st. They play 18 games, I think, of teams under 500 in their next 18 games. They play 18 games of teams under 500. So we know what the Astros are going to be by July. Is it going to be, Scott Braun going to say, they're teams that stink or whatever? Because now we're getting to the point of the season where teams that are under 500 are actually under 500 teams. Not like at the beginning of the season when you sweep a team and they're 4 games under 500. Well, they're under 500. Well, yeah, you just lost 3 straight to the same team. You're going to be under 500. This next 18 games will tell me truly if Alex Presley will finish the season with the Astros.
Okay. They got a couple more against the Cardinals. Then they play the Angels in Anaheim over the weekend. Next week they play the Giants, who are playing better ball, right? That's not an easy series.
Mm-mm.
Tigers after that, White Sox after that, and then Orioles, then Rockies, then Mets. You're right. There's some softness in here. This is a good little stretch for them coming up.
I think it's like 20. I think it's 25 games, 18 of their 25 games, something like that.
Like
so
Joe
July 1st.
said, we have to win these games.
Yep. All right. So next up, we have a statement from Shohei Otani on Ippei's guilty plea today, his former interpreter. Quote, now that the investigation has been completed, this full admission of guilt has brought important closure to me and my family. I want to sincerely thank the authorities for finishing their thorough and effective investigation so quickly and uncovering all of the evidence. This has been a uniquely challenging time, so I am especially grateful for my support team, my family, agent, agency, lawyers, and advisors, along with the entire Dodgers organization who showed endless support throughout this process. Quote, it's time to close this chapter, move on, and continue to focus on playing and winning ball games. Okay. I mean, it's fine.
Simply stated. Very good.
Just this
Very
usual.
nice.
Actually, I mean, behind the scenes, he better be saying, who the hell is helping me out here? How the fuck does that happen? And also, he's saying to himself, I learned a lesson because I can't let one dude run my whole life, and I need a bigger support team with checks and balances because I'm too big. I'm an international superstar. It's going to have hundreds of millions of dollars flowing in out of bank accounts over my career.
Yeah, and that was him being nice. And, when you make a nice statement like that, you understand what you've been through, the bullshit. You're happy that it's over. Will this ever go away? No. This will always be part of what Otani is, but it's not going to make or break who he is inside and outside. He's still going to be one of the greatest ball players to ever play this game, and we're going to love watching him play. So, again, close that book. Like you said, let's move on. And then somebody else just got popped for betting. So it's whenever this comes up, if somebody else gets popped, it's going to go back. Oh, well, do you remember this guy? Remember, Ippy or whatever his name is. Just you got to, what is it? I'm Ippei. Excuse me. But you got to understand, this will always be with him, but it doesn't define who he is.
This guy has to be a bot. Otani has to be like distractions galore. Todd, think about a distraction that you had in your career. Obviously, I don't want you to say it, but there's so many things that happen in life that distract you. Not even talking about injuries, not talking about any of that kind of stuff. Shohei Otani, he's distracted. His hitting is distracted by pitching when he's a pitcher. It's fair. Like, he's got to pitch. He's got to throw 97 to 100. He's got to get hitters out on the other team, and he's got to hit dingers. Still kept hitting dingers. This year, if he said, oh, I can finally put this by me, does that mean he's going to do more than what he's been doing? He's already on a career pace to have career-high stolen bases. He couldn't steal bases before because he's distracted by pitching. What is he going to do the rest of this year? Like, to be able to play through the distractions he's had in his career up until today when he released this statement, now it's behind him. He doesn't have to worry about it. Like, does that mean he's going to do more, or is he just a bot? Like, is he just life
You're a
into
bot.
the bot?
Yeah, that's a
I'm
good
now
call.
a bot.
Kratz froze for just a sec, but it is a good call because if you remember at the beginning of the season, Otani was a little slow power-wise, like, right? Didn't he have only like a homer or two in his first 2-3 weeks,
right.
something like that? And there was, yes, it was a slow power start, and apparently, he wasn't sleeping as well, and he was going through some of that stuff. So then he turned it on quickly after that. Yeah, now this could be another level of closure.
Oh, be ready. It's funny how the brain works, man. The games you play in your head, just want this over. I need this done. Boom. All of a sudden, everything's got done. Let's go play ball.
Yeah. That's players are humans, and when they have less crap going on, generally I'm going to bank on those players doing better.
Watch out.
Yeah, exactly. But good call.
Yeah, he had a tough March. 6 games, he hit like 656 OPS. Turned it around. He turned it around in April with 1100 OPS. So it was a slower start in March. Now that you're saying that,
that's what I'm saying, right? So then he kind of felt a little better, right?
Right.
He is unbelievable.
Yeah, he is incredible. So now he gets to put all that past him. But yeah, a lot of news on that all today. So we'll get to any statements also. If you missed anything from the top of the show, we covered this pretty in depth. So if you want to see all the news on Marcano and everything else, it's been a busy day for us. We had a lot of good guests to cover this. All right, let's get to our game of the day. Mariners against A's, 9:40 Eastern time, free game of the day, streaming on the BetMGM app, live streaming available to all customers who are logged in with funded accounts. We got George Kirby on the mound for Seattle, 9:40 Eastern time, going up against Mitch Spence, who was pretty good actually last time out, 5 1/3. I think it was only one hit against Tampa Bay last time out. So check that one out. 9:40 Eastern time.
Take the Nerfy.
Yeah.
Nerf.
Hey, Kratz, you got a little pushback yesterday from some fans. And I got the concept. I'm like, oh, we don't want Gino back. Some fans were like, he's not hitting that well in Arizona. I'm like, okay, but the concept of sacrificing power and trying to get less swing and miss in your lineup hasn't worked so far. Like, you can go back to Teoscar Hernandez, too. He's had some ups and downs since he left, right?
100%. But to me, my whole
Hernandez,
thing was,
I mean, he struggled at home. He played well on the road, but it's the same concept. It's like you're giving up dudes that are capable of hitting 40 homers and giving more protection to Julio, right?
Give him more protection. Another year of hitting together in a lineup. I don't know if Todd can speak on this because he actually played, but constantly being in a lineup with the same dudes, you start to get a rhythm. And just to switch it up because you're going to have the same amount of money, but you're not completely revamping your entire lineup, to me, is the same as changing the lineup day in and day out. Hey, Todd, you're going to hit second today. Todd, we're facing this righty. You're hitting seventh. Teams are going to attack you differently based on where you're at in the lineup, and people will be like, well, that's dumb. They should never do that. You have different approaches for different parts of the order because of who's coming up or who you just faced, where guys are on base. And I just think keeping Eugenio, I get it. You know, one guy was like, when was the last time he hit 40 homers? Well, 2019, he hit 49. But very few guys can you pencil in, pen in 30 dingers, especially in Seattle. And to me, all the stuff that all the teammates said about him, like, I just don't trade him. I don't trade him just because you're afraid of, more strikeouts.
Yeah, and Seattle's doing that now. Did a series when the Yankees played Seattle. Dylan Moore, he batted ninth, he batted sixth, he batted second. Like, they're bouncing everybody around. And is that a good thing, bad thing? Yeah, I mean, as a player, you're like, I wish they would spot me somewhere so I can kind of get used to it. And they're still winning. They're still in first place. So we'll see how that goes as the season moves forward, Scott.
Mm-hmm. That's right. All right, we got a few minutes left. Then we got Hachi coming up too on the Baseball America YouTube channel. I'll be on there with JJ Cooper and friends. But let's do our locks. So yesterday, Todd Father, banger. Orioles won 7-2. Austin Hayes, first 2 homers of the year. Wow. The Austin Hayes show.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Santander homered.
Good
that Detroit game. Yeah, dude. I mean, that was a sweaty bet. Yeah. But Jake Rogers had the game of his life. He's from Texas. He had the great defensive game, but he also hit 2 solo homers, and they won 2-1. And
Kratz, you did.
He wasn't hitting this year.
No,
he's not known for his bat, but he had one of those games where if Jake Rogers is ever part of the FT fam in the future, he's going to bring up that game like every other day.
No doubt.
Have to,
right?
Jake Rogers.
Yeah,
Jake Rogers is a boss. Anytime catchers are balling out like that, carrying the team like Shea Langoliers did earlier in the year with its 3 homers in one game.
Yes, he did.
Love it.
Love it. All right, Pap, you're up. What do you got for us today?
What's up, my people of FT Nation? It's your boy, Parlay Pap. I'm here in Boston, still live from Boston. And here's my 2 picks for today. If you're ready, you know what I'm doing. I'm going against AJ's former team again, the White Sox. Don't know what's going on there, but they're on pace to break a whole lot of records and not good ones. So I'm taking the Cubs and my boy Emanaga on the right side of Chicago. They ain't playing in the south side. We're going to the right side of Chicago where all the beautiful people are. So the Cubs are going to win today. And secondly, I got, let me think, who else did I get? Oh, yeah, I'm going to take the Orioles, too, in the money line. We're going to parlay them up together because the Blue Jays, shit, I don't even know if they got a starter name today. So it looks like a bullpen day for them. So looking for a blowout there. So let's get that money.
All right, plus 114 from Pap. You got a little parlay too, Kratzy?
It's Trevor Richards, if people were wondering, who's starting for the Blue Jays. So, yes, kind of a bullpen day. But thank you, Pat, for that. I'm going a little money line parlay because I am swearing off the K props because I absolutely stink McDink on this K props. And it's a coin flip whether it's going to be over or under. So anyway, I missed it by the hook again yesterday. So we'll see on the K props for at least 7 hours for me. But I'm going Phillies winning. They're facing the Brewers. Brewers have struggled against lefties. Christopher Sanchez is throwing. And I'm going with the Yankees and Luis Gil to start the series off against the Twinkies and continue their season dominance.
Talk about Luis Gil. He's facing Bailey over. I'm going under in this game. Luis has been dominant. He hasn't given up more than 2 runs in any of his outings. And Bailey's 5-3, I think he's 58 strikeouts, 12 walks. So get ready for a low-scoring Yankee W for you, Kratz. I'm going 220 to win 200. Excuse me.
Did you like how I got a little bolder than I usually do yesterday for you?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Well, I go 120 today to win a hundo, just keeping it simple again. But I'm going Yanks money line, and it's way too steep. It was like minus 180 something. So I just teased down the runs for the game to over 4.5.
Yeah, 3-2 is good.
Yeah, that's fine. 3-2 works. Well, that's where I was nervous. So I can't buy that high on a money line. So I think they'll be scoring. I could see there being 10, 12 runs in this one.
We'll see.
Also, Gil eventually is going to give up a run or 2 here and there. And the Twins offense is decent. So anyway, that's my picks. And your first bet offer with BetMGM is up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your bet falls when you place your first wager and sign up and deposit at least $10 into a new account. You can download the app or hit up betmgm.com. And if the bet loses, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's slap. You know why the Twins are going to score a little extra run or 2? Royce Lewis.
Oh, I didn't
Royce
see
Lewis
that.
back. That helps. I love Royce Lewis. I hope he stays on the field. Great player.
Yeah, he is. And he's a monster.
He is a monster. Clutch. Former 1-1. And remember, Rocco Baldelli was like, dude, he called him when he stole a base on a rehab assignment. He's like, are you freaking kidding me? I just think that's hilarious. But seriously, be careful. New North Side Territory is out there for the world. If you want to check that out, it is in the North Side Territory YouTube channel or podcast section. If you type that into your podcast app of choice, same with Hammer Territory. They put a new pod out there. So shout out to the FT fam. And then I have a little clip I want to show you. I don't remember who tweeted this, but it was funny. And I was thinking the same thing. Did you see the Pavin Smith walk-off home run for the Diamondbacks last night against San Francisco? Yeah. So check out the homer and let me know if you notice anything interesting about the center field attempt here. Okay. Look where the ball goes. I mean, it cleared a wall that's like 40 feet high. The center fielder was like,
he didn't know.
Did he try to jump at it?
Yeah. Did you see that? He tried to jump at it. And I was watching it live, and somebody on social, I wish I could shout them out because it was funny. They go, it's like when you're playing a video game and you just dive even though you know you don't have it. Like, same in football if you're playing Madden and like the dude passes you and just like screw it and you just press the dive button.
For no reason.
For me, it's just like I hit a homer and I'm pissed. It's like rage quitting.
Yeah, but that porch hangs out over. So where did that hit hanging out over? It was coming down. It hangs like out like this, and so it's coming down. Did it hit here or did it hit back at the back of the wall?
It is. It's different. Yeah, because it sticks out. So if it does miss the wall,
that's such a nerd Kratz response. Just take the joke. It's such a nerd Kratz response.
Maybe not. Watching that right there, he jumped and like hit the wall and was like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah, that cleared. Right?
Not that you shouldn't, but go back and look at the game-tying home run by Elio Ramos. A righty to go up where he went. Anyway, Todd, it's for you. Like, whoa.
Yes.
And that dude's hit like 3 in the last 2 games. Freshman year baseball cap at EMU. I think freshman and sophomore year. Sorry for everybody needing to watch it the whole day.
Yeah.
It's better than seeing my bald head. But it's
Eastern
nasty.
Michigan.
Like, this hat is nasty.
Nasty hat. Awesome that you kept it. The EM and U not really flowing well. Like it all looks kind of jumbled. It's very confusing, right? Like, can you get that real quick? Nah, needed a little work. So I'm gonna give that a C minus. D. Yeah, it probably deserves a D. But
Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, Mennonite. We'll see everyone on Wednesday. Remember, Thursday and Friday we're in Vegas for shows, same time and all that. But Kipnis, Kratz, and me will be sitting next to each other, so that'll be fun. And we'll play.
Did you guys get your trophy yet for the poker tournament? I didn't.
Not yet. I'm getting mine on Thursday night, about midnight.
Ha.